What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Around the Metaverse, our weekly show where we bring together some of the best content creators from the blockchain and NFT gaming community, talk about all the recent news, and give you guys everything you need to know to stay up to date. But we got a great show for y'all tonight, and we're also going to give a huge shout out to our sponsor for the show tonight, Illuvium, our exclusive sponsor for Around the Metaverse. They recently launched their long-anticipated Illuvium Zero gameplay, and now this is a resource management game that's tied to their land NFTs. For those of you who aren't up to speed on how Illuvium's been killing it, we put together a little hype reel to show y'all. Let's take a look at that right now. But let's dive right into things. Which AAA gaming studio is going to win Web3? Square Enix recently announced or had like a briefing, their end of year press release, talking about what their focus is going to be on for the 2023 year. A significant portion of it was about blockchain gaming, how the stigma behind blockchain gaming is, legitimate in some senses, but there are some unfounded, statements about it. And Stash, let me start with you. I mean, why do you think Square Enix is so invested in Web3 gaming? What's in it for them, and like, what's sort of the history of them, in Web3 gaming so far?
Yeah, I mean, why are they so invested? Because they're smart. They get it. Square Enix has been around for a long time. When you talk about gaming legends, right? Companies that have been around for a really long time. Like Atari and like Square. Like a lot of people don't know how old it originally was Square until they kind of combined with the Enix Labs there. But they've been around for a really long time, and I think that they've been a company that has always kind of pushed the forefront of stuff, with the games like they've been putting out. So I think it just kind of makes sense to people who really can have that long-term vision, right? A company that really understands a long-term vision for whatever industry they're in, but in particular here with gaming, I think Square Enix really sees that long-term vision, and they know that trying to incorporate these things is going to be hard at the beginning. They know people are going to push back against it. They understand that, and they're like, well, we don't care. We know this is going to be the future. People are not going to like it at first, but, you kind of massage them a little bit, give them a little bit of like patting on the, and then, eventually then you've placated them into place and they'll love it. So I think that it just speaks to the fact that they have really great leadership that has that vision and has the fortitude. Right? That's one thing that we've seen from some other companies that are larger gaming development companies that got some pushback, like what happened with Ubisoft when they tried to incorporate a free NFT, just like you don't have to do anything, just hey, here's a free cool thing we're doing, and then everyone's like, NFTs are trash, you guys are a horrible company, and even their own employees were hating on them for these decisions. And that's the kind of fortitude you have to have as a company to weather this storm early on, and Ubisoft I feel like just didn't have it. Square Enix, I think they do, man. So I see it in the future here. I really feel like they're going to double down on this because they understand how important it really is to the future of games in general.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a long history of developing games. Who better? They've got the team, they've got the resources, they've got the experience. And it's interesting, we're talking about like which AAA game studio is going to succeed in this area. It makes a lot of sense that an Asian developer or a developer based in Asia, would kind of take up that flag and take this on. So I'm really excited about whatever they put out. I mean, it's Square Enix, and they don't have to get too technical with the blockchain. All they have to do is have ownership of assets, ownership of, even if they're cosmetic assets, but just on chain that people can have and store and trade and have that digital property rights in their games. I love it.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. And it's interesting you bring up the point of like them being kind of an East-based company, and like I feel like that like the US and a lot of the West right now is still like scarred. And I hate to say it because it doesn't really it shouldn't at least fall into play here with Web3 gaming. But everyone and their mom is still like talking about FTX and Bitcoin scams and all this stuff about crypto, this misinformation that's kind of being pushed right now here in the US at least. And I feel like if you're a AAA game studio right now that's like seeing all this happening, you're like, all of the plans we had are on pause. Put that shit on the back burner right now. Like, it's not the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes down to the fact that it's huge reputational risk if you're wrong, or if you try to create something that isn't done well, you don't implement things correctly. So, I think a lot of companies are just in a system of like, they're making money, they're making games, they're doing what works, and they know what works. And anytime you just mention the word, NFT or crypto in the gaming space, like, the majority, I feel like, of the response is, met with pitchforks and stuff like that. So it's just a huge risk to be, the trailblazer, and put yourself out there, I suppose. So I think it just comes down to that, honestly.
Honestly, I'd have to go with Epic Games as a studio and a publisher, because obviously they're one of the biggest players in the space right now. They're a massive game library. They're also a publisher. We know that when Steam said originally that they're banning all NFT games, they came out in the same week, I think, and said, you know what, we're actually going to try and dive into this NFT space and figure it out. Epic Games are also ones to fight the fair fight on the legal side. We saw them fight Apple with Fortnite. So there's obviously a ton of legal questions and battles that are yet to take place going on in the whole NFT space. And I think Epic will also be the really good leader in that fight. But on top of that, they're also the developers of Unreal Engine 5 and Unreal Engine in general. And Unreal Engine 5, which just came out this year, it's free, and it's the next gen game engine. Like, it's game changing, pun intended, but it's literally, game developers are just getting their hands on it now, and they're starting to develop games that are really next level games. Like, all the really next gen games are going to be using Unreal Engine or something of that equivalent. Yeah, if Epic Games is pro NFTs in the crypto space, and they start building an implementation, maybe an Unreal Engine, I think it's a fast track to having actual fun quality, really high quality games in the space that I could stick. Yeah, for sure.
But who's to say what's going to happen with all that? I think Square Enix is in a really good position too. And like Square Enix, I think Epic Games and Square Enix play in almost different like spheres. I feel like to some degree, where Square Enix has Final Fantasy, and that's something that is always, I feel like it has lasting power and things like that. So we'll see what they do with Symbiogenesis and kind of what IP they take from what they have into that. But Epic Games is going to have a ton of, like you said, because they're a publisher too, just a ton of heavy hitters. We're running out of time here tonight, folks, but I want to thank you all for joining us here tonight on our first episode of Around the Metaverse here in 2023. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. But that's all tonight, folks. This has been Around the Metaverse. Catch us next week for another episode. But that's all. We out.
Later.
Bye.